So just a few logistic announcements. You want to be off camera, that's fine by us. We have inbuilt in our presentation itself some Q&A. So we will be asking questions. We'll make it as interactive as possible. And after that, if you have anything that is specific, you can email it to us or put it up in the chat, in a personal chat. We can take it up from there and email it to you guys.
All right, so welcome to our first webinar out here like this in public. We're quite happy to start this out because we do believe that all parts of this ecosystem, children, parents, and schools, teachers require a lot of support. Now, the big picture, when we're looking at things somewhere, things get a little, kind of we go off the rails when we're looking at marks, scores, and exams. So we want to just anchor it in, we are looking at the ultimate purpose of education. So when we're talking about tools and skills, we're worried about things that everyone can use everywhere. So this is something we tell our children, you're going to be using these skills until you die, whether it is college, whether it's, when you're a grandparent and you're playing with your kids, it doesn't matter. These are the kinds of skills we're working on. Not going into too much detail, we want to keep it reasonably interactive and fun. But we do want to talk about why we do this. Now, both Parul and I are special educators, and we'll introduce ourselves a bit. And our methods are informed by the principles of special education. Now, what we always hear is, but my child has no problem. Now, if you look at the principles of special ed, it's basically that you have to work with the child's brain, which I think everyone has to work with everyone's brain. Understand the children, know why they're doing what they're doing. Teach skills explicitly. A lot of what happens in our systems, schools, outside, is that we expect a lot of stuff to be in place. But very few children have been taught to summarize, to actually, learn these things. But you leave people in as they're coming. Yeah. And enough opportunities to practice. We expect children to know it, and we expect them to be experts without teaching and giving these opportunities to practice. Now, anyone who comes to our class, we consider our kids. So from now on, you guys are also our kids. And the beauty, I think, of the Teachers Collective is that once you're our kids, you're always our kids. Please feel free to reach out to us. It's not about who's a paid customer, what is happening. Your kids want to attend our workshops or don't want to attend our workshops. It's not the problem. But we do want to be there to reach out to people who need support. So you want to, message us. We may not be able to pick up calls all the time, but you want to message us. We want to have a chat. You want to get in touch with us on email. Have any specific questions, please know that it's going to be confidential. We are professional. Special ed is kind of like a doctor among teachers, if you want to look at it that way. So we will keep it confidential, and we will be able to give you specific inputs if we have specific details. Pal, you want to take it?
Yeah. So good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. So my background comes from when I was growing up, I wanted to do humanities, and that was my challenge when my parents were like, why do you want to take up humanities? And I was like, that's where my passion lies. So I'm so grateful that at that point of time, they didn't push me for what they wanted me to do, but allowed me to what I wanted to do. So I started my journey with doing my graduation in early childhood education and care, and then went on to do my master's in child psychology. And then I went on to do my another master's in physical and neurological disabilities. So I'm an RCIA licensed certified practitioner. And together as Teachers Collective, we've been working together for the last 5 years. And me and Sangeeta date back almost 12 years now.
So I didn't start off with special ed at all. My parenting experiences got me here. I have one child who's by the book and one who's completely off the charts. So I used to be an accountant, and the whole process of trying to support my kids, I qualified to become a special educator, and now it's been 10 years as a teacher. And I have to say I enjoy it a lot more than accounting was. No, not dissing on accountants, but man, teachers have it really good. So if we want to look at our child's brain, now this is, I don't know if this has been heard in your house, but you'll ask the child, do you know what is the right thing to do? And they say, yes. And you say, what did you do? They've done something that's completely, not expected, or stuff that you think they know better. And then say, what were you thinking? And here's what they were not thinking. The prefrontal cortex, which is the part in the front, is least developed and still growing. Now, guys, this was meant to be a slightly kind of irreverent diagram for you to understand. This was done by a teenager about her brain. So it's not, structurally exactly, what should we say, accurate, but it's definitely something. Memes, wanderlust, thinking about what's happening with friends. This is what is going on in their minds.
Not clinically accurate, but
yeah,
for that child, it's the best.
Right. So one thing we want you to take away from this is children are going from their amygdala, which is the part in the middle, which is emotions. So they are often doing before thinking. They act, they are driven by emotions more than they are, and the prefrontal cortex is not developed. Why is this important? Like we said, we have to be informed by neuroscience. It's going to save you a lot of frustration because this translates into your parenting in very big ways. So what is typical for a teenager is acting on impulse, acting before thinking, more feeling and emotion. So there's going to be a lot of drama, going and lying down on the bed like a heroine, slamming of doors, a lot of misinterpreting of social cues. Well, I don't know, recently I've heard that if you put a period in a WhatsApp chat, that means you're being angry. So my daughter told me, what's up with this abrupt? What are you angry about? And I said, what did I do? I just said, okay. She said, but you put a period at the end of it.
I knew period as a punctuation.
Right. So many cues that we don't know, and we better know if we don't want them to misinterpret it or be ourselves misinterpreted, and they take risks. Now, this is typical for a teen. It is also very frustrating as a parent. So how does, just like a basic structure of what helps, more than being a teacher to our kids, a relationship with our kids is very important. This means you learn their games and play along with them, learn their music. I'm very sorry. Even if you have to diss something, you have to know it. So kind of, you want to make fun of their music, at least learn to sing along a little. The current lingo, lit, I thought I was cool because I knew lit, but we have gone way past lit. OTT is not Netflix and it's over the top. So there is a lot of lingo that it would be good for us to be, for us to know. What does this do? It's not like we're trying to be, what shall we say, spies and look over them, but we want them to understand, hey, these people are also making an effort for stuff that is ours. Of course, it hurts a lot to say, oh, ma, even in your ancient times, you had this, or you know it. So sometimes it's good to have that little surprise. We do a lot of lecturing as parents. I'm going to speak generally. It's up to you to figure out if you are this parent or not. We all think we do more modeling than lectures, and I believe we all do a lot more lecturing than modeling.
So just would like to give an example. The other day, me and Sangeeta, we were working with a kid and I erased something and she said, did you make a mistake? I said, yes. Are you going to erase it? I said, yes. Even you make mistakes. So for them to see that it's okay and we were out there and we say, yeah, of course we make mistakes. Was I think for her, it was like an eye opener, like even adults can make a mistake.
Growth mindset language. Guys, we're not going to get into too much in detail. This is more of a webinar to expose you to stuff, but please take a look at this. This is really important.
Did your slide move?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
So growth mindset, we'll get into this in the next slide a little more, but please write this down and look at this. I'm going to put in chat a video link to teach teenagers about their brains so that they know how things work. It's a short, lovely video that talks about neuroplasticity in a way, in animated way that will help them understand.
And the name of the book on growth mindset also, we can put it up on the chat.
Yes, we will do that as well. This is a time, middle and teenage is a time when we need to have them explore their interests. Unfortunately for us, our systems are such that by grade 10 or the end of grade 10, they have to understand or at least have a basic idea of which area they are going in, which I think is developmentally not there yet, but that's where we are. So any exploration of their interests, anything you can get to from say grade 6 onwards, have them go and experience a day out. There are many organizations now. There's one called I Love Mondays. There's one called Unheard, UNHERD. These are all places where children can go and figure out what is law about, what is design about, whatever it is that they're interested in.
Curiosity and IME is also one of the options if music and science is their interest.
Right. We have a fabulous museum for music in JP Nagar, which is pretty fabulous. I think quite world class. That's something for them to look at if they're interested in music. We said that they're going from their amygdala. So we do want to validate what they're feeling, even if you don't agree, even if you don't understand. We say, I understand you're feeling really upset. It has to be very frustrating to have to deal with people excluding you or whatever it is. If you want a relationship, please validate what they're feeling. This is where that detachment is very important for us to not make it about ourselves, but to understand what they're feeling, or even if it's lip service, please say it. Validate and say, this must be very hard for you, at which point the temperature of the place cools down quite a bit. The last bit, our times, in our time we did it, our parents did this. These times are very different. We are very much a part of making these times very different. So at this point, comparison many times just helps children shut down faster. So I would suggest, please keep away from these comparisons. They don't quite work. Any questions, guys, please feel free to put in chat. Anyone wants to ask a question, you want to put your hand up, that's quite fine as well. Pal, you want to take this?
Yeah, so this is the model that we will be trying to put it together today in today's workshop as we grow forward. So we want parents to be like a coach. And when we say, the minute we change the word from teacher to coach, it removes the stigma out of the lecturing part of it, the parent part, the teacher part of it, and brings in more friendly, more cordial relationship when we look at it in terms of our relationship with our kids. So these are the 4 things that we will be, boxing our today's workshop on. So first is, how do you build habits and routines? And when we say habits and routines, it's more to do with their study routines. So this is one question we often ask our kids, do you have a study routine? And most of the kids struggle to answer that. So there's no designated time, or there's no designated 30, 40 minutes routine that they have. So how do we build and how do we encourage them to have those routines? Empathy and respect, as we said, validate their feelings, put them first, look at them with more of observations and less of judgments. I know you always do this. I know you would have cooked up something. So if we, restrain our the way we address the issues and address our children, and then we look at collaborating. So instead of say, okay, today, can we just work on this project? Can we work together? So I think this is the parts that I'm good at. Can I, give you a feedback on this and do more of collaborations and partnerships rather than taking the lead and the ownership of the complete thing, and growth mindset. So a lot of your coaching, the lot of vocabulary that you use with kids will come from your growth mindset language, that it's okay to make mistakes. It's a learning experience. Next time we won't repeat it. So maybe this is something we'll try it out. So having a lot of those kind of discussions, and have more of table discussions. When we say table discussions, have full family together and have a connect time. At least try to have one connect time in a day where all of you are together as a family and put it out things together. It really helps in the building the confidence of the children.
And by growth mindset language, the one thing we'd like to say is, instead of saying you're so smart, you're so intelligent, we start appreciating the effort.
Yes.
Start appreciating specifics, to say that I really see how much effort you've put into crafting this paragraph. I see you've added these, couple of notes. I really like the way you use this analogy. That helps a lot, because I think teenagers are kind of programmed to not believe their parents to start with. Okay, so why don't you put in chat if you can relate, with respect to your child, if you can relate to any of these things. We'd like to see what common pain points are, so that we can add a little
keywords would be helpful. If you want to just put in keywords, that's fine. We could have just numbered it, then they would have written the number. Next time we'll remember.
So does any of this relate, that your child is constantly looking only at studies, or is in a rush to get everywhere? There's the other side is activities, wants to do so much, but in all of this, it's just rush everywhere. We forget things. The locker or the bag, you open it and there are these crumpled pieces of paper, you pull it out and you're like, this used to be an assignment that someone put a lot of effort into. Sometimes it's the parent and not the child.
Cascade.
Yeah.
All
And
the
this child,
assignments.
yeah, and this child who has like all the time for nothing but studies, but when they go and write the test, it doesn't kind of the scores don't quite reflect that effort. There's a lot of procrastination for starting stuff off. And over a period of time, it all becomes a fight. Oh my God, I'm going to have to do this. What's happening? Right? So I see in chat, there is a rush for starting off, puts off starting only studies. Absolutely. Never have a problem with anything of interest. Lots of nagging needed, doesn't ask questions in class, doesn't know don't always know what's happening. All right. Welcome to your tribe.
Oh.
While I can say that we can provide some solutions, we can definitely say all of us are in the same boat. So what are our solutions?
We've been emphasizing on a lot of these putting things together, when we use words like boxing and jigsaw and all, because if you look at it, the whole process is in pieces. If you don't put those pieces together, the whole big picture doesn't come across. So that's why it's all broken, and then we are trying to bring it together for all of you.
So part one, the workstation. Simple stuff, but if you actually go and observe where your kid does most of their studies, many times it's the dining table. The desk will be perfectly placed, but it's not used as much. It'll be a dining table, it'll be on a bed, it'll be on a sofa. So can we please take a look at what we'd like to do better? Pardon?
So the idea of the workstation came from COVID, when everybody was in a shared space and everybody was using pretty much the similar space, whether it be parents or children. So, and then we realized if we have a designated space for children to use their study table and the workstation effectively. So what were the other components we were looking at were the proper lighting. Sometimes children sit in dark rooms because that's how they think it's cool. It's cool not to have lights. It's cool to be in a dark room. That's it. And there'll be a small lamp which will be there. So whenever there is, you say, okay, can we start working? And they'll say, oh, I forgot, the pen is in the other room, the markers are somewhere else. So you're looking at simple things like having an organization of stationery, an organization of books, like a book stopper where only subject books are there, a proper lamp, preferably if there are windows, that will be ideal. But if not, then if there is proper lighting. There are few kids who work best when there is a light music which is played in the background. It kinds of, put them off distraction. So if that works, that would be an ideal thing to have too. And, a simple organizer where they can put their post-its, or a planner, which can help them something they are anticipating in the next week, or something, a to-do list for the week that they have to be organized with, any assignment that is pending, like a visual reminder for them. Because anything on the gadget or anything in the diary, anything as a note, they won't be able to make more this thing. So for an easy access, if we can have a small board where we can put it up there. So that would be an ideally good workstation. There are few workstation ideas which we worked with our kids over the program, and they have sent it to us.
These are actual workstations from our kids.
Yeah.
Some are a little more picturesque than others.
Because they were in Kodaikanal. So one thing we wanted to highlight here was this is highly customized. So it won't work for all kids, but some of the elements will work for all the kids. So another thing is it's very important to know as a parent, what are my child's strengths in terms of how as a learner my child is. Either my child is an auditory learner, visual learner, kinesthetic learner. If my child is an auditory learner and I'm not giving any input, like no videos, no somebody reading aloud or reading books together, then it would be very hard for that child to just, focus on one particular style. So there are a lot of tools available on internet which will help you to identify what kind of a learner my child is. So as when you collaborate on projects or assignments, that would be very helpful for you.
So these are some questions we ask children. Does this relate? Like, can you relate to this? Don't know what questions to ask. I have a hard time remembering information. Like I sit in front of the textbook, I open it, but I don't know what I've read. And by the time, it's 20 minutes, I'm ready for a break. I spend time to study, but then someone quizzes me and then I don't know if I'm saying this. It makes sense in my head, but I'm not able to express it. I know the information, but man, I'm always in trouble with my parents, right? Yep. Now, guys,
I want to take that question. I'm very tempted. Yes, they feel it's an intrusion into their privacy, but as long as it's a functional mess. If I ask him to get a notebook which I want and he's able to get it in less than a fraction of a second, that mess is good. So a lot of people, it's actually a myth that staying organized is staying clean and neat. So if my workstation is absolutely neat, clean, organized, is like my child is super organized. So we call it functional mess. So as long as he or she is able to identify where their stuff is without getting confused and panicking, I think that is also an okay approach to have. But it won't be for parents because they want everything to be clean and neat. But that functional mess is also good.
You've also got to remember that those pictures when people send us are always the best version. That's not going to stay like that. Right?
That would have been cleaned for hours before it had reached us.
So functional mess, if functional mess is there, please go for it. That's perfectly okay. This is where you go to practice mindfulness and meditation yourself so that the mess doesn't bother your mental health. All right. So when we're saying study skills, this is something we found over a period of time when we were trying to validate our ideas, right? We were saying, what are study skills? And we were talking to all these people and they said, oh, study skill means to concentrate, to sit in one place, to have attention, to pay attention. But what they are is nothing like that. Like paying attention is a brain function. Sitting in one place, concentrating, still brain function, right? Or putting your bum on your seat and keeping it there regardless of what your brain is doing. That's just a physical function. So when we're talking about study skills, we're looking at very specific things related to learning, reflection, time management, right? The learning skills, a lot more schools are looking at, like you're talking about reading, writing, most schools are doing a lot of that. Social interaction expected, teamwork expected, but very rarely reflection and thought about that or any kind of explicit teaching is happening. So we're going to have to take on some of that ourselves. And unfortunately for us, if we start in middle school is still okay, but we find 8th standard and above is when puberty is also hitting in full force. So you're going to have to deal with, what shall we say, a not always cooperative kid, to put it very mildly. So are we doing anything about reflecting? Now, guys, many times this means that, so let me give you a personal example. Mindfulness, I learned it, I know it works. So my son needed it. They were going very early in the morning and I said, you guys are going to do mindfulness. It didn't work because most times it was a struggle just to get them there. And when I started doing it, like I said, I have two kinds. One child who's completely bookish and trusting and tries, and the other kid who's always competing and trying to see how you can take the shortcuts. So when I sat and started doing that mindfulness guided meditation for 5 minutes before, it helped me. My daughter saw what I was doing and said, hey, this sounds like something that's okay, sat with me. And then my son followed along, because how is it possible that the rest of the household is doing something and I'm not there? But that's how we started. Many times it helps if we ourselves reflect and think aloud about that reflection, because we probably are doing it, but children don't see it or they don't hear us saying things. So if you're going to say, hey, this is I realized today at work or at a board meeting or at a conference call that this was the kind of learner I was, and I didn't know this about myself. Imagine that, right? Reflecting on how you plan, or I should have done this better, or maybe next time we will do this openly without making a judgment would be very helpful. And like we said, modeling works better than anything else. Pal, you want to take the next?
Yeah, and the motivation and their capacity to learn. So when we say motivation, so it's like how we said, identify their interest and provide them outlet for their interest, so that there is some compensation that is happening. So it's like a barter. I would like you to, or expect you to work on this. In return, can we work on your interest so that we can find the best of both? So that is something will help them motivate to do something different. Again, when we say every day, it's a big challenge. What to cook? What will something that will fit for all kids? So if I say every day I'm going to give you a dal and a sambar and a rice and chapati, it's going to be like a mundane thing. Oh, again, she'll ask me to sit for 2 hours, study. So what can I do? So it's just, if you present it in a different way and you say, okay, how about we use certain, we will work on, in the coming slides, we'll tell you what are the different ways, is when the way you change the presentation, the way you motivate them with something rewarding, something as simple as, okay, can we do this? Have a list of certain rewards, have a list of certain activities that can be, if they achieve this, can they work towards something? It's very hard to, convince them that it's for your good. You will do better in exams. This will help you. These all are very hypothetical and very abstract terms if you look for a teenager for like a goal to work on. And when we say capacity to learn, so if you actually see 8 hours, 9 hours children are at school, you only have a window of 1 or 2 hours when they are with you, apart from their dining time, extracurriculars, your food time and all. So how do you make those 1 hour or 30 minutes or 45 minutes they are with you conducive enough that they're open to learn something new? So maybe it could be like meditation. It would be something like mindfulness, which you do together as a family, maybe a table discussion. If they are feeling agitated or angry about something, giving them a safe, this thing, okay, what happened? I see that you are not okay today. What happened at school? Ask them questions, because most of us ask, how was the day? My daughter will say, very good. After that, full stop. That doesn't even get translated into a complete sentence. It was nice because. So you have to keep on asking so many lead questions that by the end of it, I'm like, it's okay. However it was, I'm sure. So that is the kind of things we were talking about. And these are the certain skills that we'll be addressing. So study skills under SQ3R, PQRST, and the SOAR. These are some internationally recognized programs which are available on the net. We also do our summer workshops. And we time to time put it up on our all social media handles. So if your child is interested in picking up any of these skills, more than welcome to. I think the next we would be doing only in summer, because that's the time which give us little window when they don't have schools. So they can sign up for that, or else there is enough material out where also you can have a look at it.
So what these materials, so for example, I'll give you a small scenario of what happens. Say a child sits down to study and they start working, and they're just at the introduction part of it, right? And then they're already tired. So many times,
yeah, they're done.
Yeah. So then they take a break. Then that break is supposed to be 10 minutes in their mind. Then it stretches. Then it'll be like, well, it's 10:43. Let me start at 11. It's 11:03. Let me start at 11:10. And suddenly that break has become the job versus study has become the break. So what we help them is to work with their own brain. So we're going to ask you a question, and we'd like you to do this along with us.
Yeah.
But before that, so this is one of our successes, and we're lucky to have this like this. So we worked with this one child, ICSE. She came to us in summer.
Yeah.
Came to us in summer. This was, I think, 2019, and studied everything. Took her first test in July after school started, and did an 8 on 30. The only thing that changed between 1st July and 3rd July was her use of our work. And that was the answer. Now, it's a dramatic change. And this is only from the skills being used. So the one thing we tell our children, listen, if this is going to work, It's going to work if you try it. But it helps to have something like this that's an immediate pickup, because if they don't try it and don't see the results. So this is a lucky thing. Happened with my son, because I taught him this when he was in grade 4. Every time he would go and spend 1 hour and come back, and the first question I would ask and he would not know, or he would answer the first question and after that it was gone. So I was on him. And with certain personalities, it doesn't matter. I think he's been a teenager from the age of 2. So with certain personalities, we pushed. He just did it to get me off his back. Literally, it took us maybe a year or something. And by the time he got there, and the first time, so he went, and this time 45 minutes, he came back, and I was like, all right, instead of 1 hour, we've only wasted 45 minutes. Asked a question, he answered. Another question, he answered. As it went on, 20 minutes, I was getting more and more frustrated, because now I'm trying to catch him out, right? I'm going to say, now where am I going to start seeing you falling? And he didn't fall because he used this. And that was what it took for him to then catch on and do this forever. So while we can teach the skills, there is a part of holding it together and helping them understand. But once you do that, it becomes automatic, and then you're done. Yeah. Okay. So guys, think about, I'm sorry, is someone else saying something?
Anima, can you be on mute? Yeah. Yeah.
So we would like you to look at what you think your attention span is for something you like and something you're not passionate about. Anyone who wants
to take an average of what your average attention span would be. Just put it out a number in the chat box. So calculated something that is like on day-to-day basis, not something challenging that you're doing, obviously.
30 to 40 minutes. Okay. 20 to 30 minutes is a question. I don't know.
Yeah.
25 to 30 minutes. See, now we can see a little of why the disconnect is coming in. Anyone else, please continue to do this. And anyone who's Googling for what is attention span, hey, don't do that. So the adult, like a fully functional adult, and when we're saying attention span, we're not talking about how long you're at the task or you're pushing yourself to do it. It's from the time you start it to the first time your mind just goes off.
Yeah, it gets distracted.
Yeah. If as an adult you are 20 minutes, then you are on the expert level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So next time, maybe just observe yourself and see. This means there's like a song that's playing somewhere and your mind goes to it, or some other thing, or you say, oh my God, I have to put, I don't know, whatever it is.
Doorbell, chores,
yeah,
WhatsApp chats, notifications.
Yeah, order groceries, like whatever it is for you. I'm just giving some examples that work for me. But that minute, if you can do 20 minutes without your mind wandering, as an adult, you're at expert level. That means with children, you have an attention span of about 5 to 7. What does that mean? We cannot take, absolutely, most time 5 to 10 minutes for the things you like. I get you. And with the phone and screen time going up, it's getting worse for adults as well. So I think this is something that'll work for everyone. So we're going to tell you something that works for everybody. But we'd like for you to do this. You want to do it on video, you're welcome to. If you don't want to do it on video, perfectly. But please do it for yourself, because then you will understand what we're talking about. So pick any one pose, stand up and do it. You want to do more than one pose, we'll give you a minute. I'm going to go and do it myself. Right. All right. Warrior 3 pose, Manta Ray.
I just wanted to be a wave.
Come on, Parul, you can do better.
I could have done better. Yeah.
Now, can you put on chat if you feel a little energetic enough, or you see a difference in how, what you feel? Body breaks are how we keep our attention going. It could be like today, this morning, I had a class and I was telling my kid, put your hands underneath and just lift yourself off your chair, right? Yeah. So guys, this works for everybody. You can do this when you're at office and teach your kids to do it. A small body break gives you that entire attention span again for the next however minutes. Now, the other thing that works for kids fidgeting, I found this very, very nice fidget completely by accident. We ordered pillows, and this is apparently the technology that's inside. And this just is silicone and goes like this. No noise, no stickiness. If a child is going to throw it, no one's going to get hurt. But can we also have these little fidgets that we work with? All this keeps our attention going.
Actually, kids are using it's just that we don't recognize. Most of the kids will take a pen and they'll keep on putting it on and off, on and off, on and off. They'll be either, moving their legs, shaking their legs, rocking their chair. All these are indicators that they need a body break or they need to have something to keep them focused.
So the one thing we want to tell them is, listen, guys, this is what you need, but make sure that it doesn't disturb someone else.
Yeah.
That clicking of the pen and the noise might help someone else. So can you find something? Things that work, blue tack, what you put for posters, those friendship bands that they have that they can just pull, they're slightly elastic. And we also want, when you're looking at middle and teenagers, you want something that is cool. And this I found out when I went shopping. Apparently now having mindfulness beads as a bracelet is very cool. So sometimes, trends actually help us.
Pen with textures. So pen which have textures in the front. So it would be rubber, it would be, striped, corrugated. There are different texture pens that come. There are erasers which has fragrance. So the fragrance erasers are also one of the fidgets or stimulation that can help these children to stay focused.
There are lots now. You have those puppets, fidget spinners, right? Now, unfortunately, some schools and kids will get themselves into trouble too. So you want to make it something that is small, that is portable, that if it's going to fall, is not going to hurt anybody, right? You cannot throw. I mean, I would love to see how, Rubik's Cube.
Amazing.
On the table is good to do, but taking to school will become a problem. So that's something you can use at home and have different things for school. So any questions, anyone wants to say anything, please put it in chat or just raise your hand. We are small enough that we can answer questions here. The next part, what we ask our kids is, can you connect?
May I ask a question, Sangeeta?
Sure.
The thing is, when I teach my children, my son is very much used to having something in the hand. Okay. Even if it will not be harmful, but I feel irritated having that thing in the hand, and my attention diverts when I see him playing with it. I mean, he listens to me, he attentively answers questions, he will do the work, but I cannot take it.
Right.
So I'll ask him to keep it at one place and then study with me, and then he can't study focus. Yeah, what is the solution?
So this is what we tell kids, then ask him to do it under the table. Yeah. See, what's bothering is your eyes. And it's important. So these are all sensory things that our systems can take. And like we said, we come from special ed. A lot of what we do is informed by special kids. But when you start looking at it, we are all on that spectrum somewhere. It's just that our needs and our brain doesn't hinder us as much as someone else does. So if someone is going to do like the leg, the shaking of the leg bothers me a lot. So when I'm looking at it, my eyes will go only to that. So then I have to consciously look up. Now, as an adult, we are the ones who are going to have that responsibility. So you can always tell them, listen, this helps you study, but I find it distracting. Can we do it in such a way that I don't see it? Believe me, they will find ways.
So we actually train kids to use fidgets. So it should be either under the pocket, under the desk when they are at school, inside their pockets. And we tell them that this is something that will help you to stay focused. So when we think that they are distracted, but as long as they are using it and they are with you, and how you can check that is cold call. Say, oh, we are doing this. Do you think something like this? And ask questions in between to know that they are with you and they're not distracted. But taking that away is not the solution. It's just that how do we teach them what is an socially acceptable way? Obviously, we can't.
Yeah, and the question in the chat on do fidgets take away? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
They actually are a way for the body. The body is pinging itself to stay awake. Body is pinging itself to pay attention. So this is my need. If I get this need taken care of, I can pay attention. So please, let's not take the fidgets away from them. But it is important in our school systems. Actually, it's important in any school system to make sure that it doesn't bother someone else, that it's something that is portable, that is, if it gets lost, you're not going to, school doesn't have to take responsibility, right? If it's a friendship band and you're going to do it, can we make it something that's reasonably, what shall we say, simple and uniform and around everywhere, and use that, but teach these children, listen, this helps you. We have to help children work with their brains. Anim, I hope that answered your question. Ask him to put
Yes.
it in his pocket is a very simple answer.
Yeah,
But please don't take it away from him.
yeah.
All right, so this is the other question we ask. Now, one thing we want to say before we do this is it's not about the art. Right? When you think about, imagine if you saw a picture and you had to replicate it. And if you didn't get all the details in the picture that you have drawn will tell you which details are missing. We want to use this to convert a text to a picture. What it does, one, many children with difficulties are super creative. They can think creatively in ways that we can't even imagine. So we want them to understand there are some areas that are your strengths. Children who actively resist making something visual are the ones who need this the most. And so what do we tell them? It's not about the art, it's about the idea.
So you will see a lot of kids doodle. They'll be doodling, there'll be mustache on Gandhiji, which is like forever standard. There'll be hair. So doodling behind the textbooks, inside the textbooks, behind the notebooks are an indicator, strong indicator of can we convert that doodling into something which is meaningful. So we get a lot of pushback from middle and not middle, high schoolers, especially grade 8, 9, 10, that, oh, isn't it too tough to, draw? It's so easy to write. So there's sort of reluctance which comes from them, especially those who are, good at writing in the sense, it's a mechanical copying of writing. Those who are reluctant writers still buy in the idea that, okay, it's a good idea to use a combination of text and visual. But that keep on telling them that it's not about that. We don't want you to draw. We want you to just put your ideas in a graphical form. So that's where the idea comes from.
There's a question in the chat that says, if a child wants to walk around when they're studying, please allow it.
Please. I was the one who used to go up and down the room and before the exams and wrote learn.
I would walk up and down and speak. Now I know it's multisensory. I was seeing, hearing, and getting my kinesthetic stuff done. I know that now.
Yeah.
Right? But that's absolutely something to do. We are actually helping, we're trying to get schools to do this with standing desks at the back.
Yeah.
Many institutions have gone, we will give you examples on visual note.
Even corporates, they have standing desks so that
desks
they
where
can
you
take a
can
body
cycle.
break too.
Yeah. One of the things I've done is the sewing table that you saw was mine upstairs. We took an old Singer table and it has that thing that you can go up and down. And that's what my son uses to study, or used to study. Now he doesn't study as much as I'd like, but that's a different problem altogether. So when we have visual notes, they're high on detail. Understanding is assessed and expressed in a way that words alone can't. Now think about your own, say you go to a workshop and you have reams of notes. How many of you have ever gone back and studied those notes when you needed something? My hypothesis is we'd much rather go to YouTube and look at a video or go online and look for something. Yes or no? Anyone, can you put on chat? All these workshops we go to, meetings. Now notes that are to do, I have to do this, we're taking as a checklist that we have to do. Obviously we're going to take from meetings, but I'm talking about you go to study something, you're learning something new, you write something down. Very, very rarely do we go back to it. Right? We end up going, minutes of meetings.
And if they're not in bullets, gone. If it's a narrative, a person like me would be completely lost.
So what we tell children is you please study, but we want, say, a lesson of 10 pages or 7 to 10 pages to be compressed into 1 page of notes. Now, the act of doing this helps them understand. The act of doing this makes sure that it's anchored and they don't have to memorize. They're understanding, putting it together and memorize. Yes, pointers rather than notes. But we also want to have the connections, right? If it's going to be verbal, it's always up and down or left to right. What about the connections? How does something on one page link up to something else on the other page?
So one of the key takeaway from visual note is where we use it extensively is to create either an anchor chart So the anchor charts are the charts which provide you with a visual summary of the whole chapter, like a big picture. So there it comes in very handy. So if I know this topic talks about my central idea, and these are the things which are subtopics. So when I'm studying for my exam, if I remember the subtopic, if I remember the critical, 2 or 3 keywords from that, I can write a 2 marker, I can write a 3 marker, I can expand it on a 5 marker. But if I'm not able to recall what is there as a big picture, what are the subtopics of the same topic, it's hard for me to even expand on ideas.
So we'll give you some examples. These are all examples our children have done in all our classes. We worked with about 5,000 students so far in the past 5 years. So if you'll notice here, it went all the way from a 6th grader talking about travel to IGCSE.
First grader.
Sorry.
First grader,
Year
all the way
6.
up
So
to
as in,
properties of
6-year-old.
magnet, which was grade 10 and 11.
Yeah, all the way up to IGCSE, ICSE, CBSE topics from math to science to financial statement analysis. It was all here. So one of the things we'd like for you guys to go away with is this concept of a graphic organizer. Please look it up. It's a whole world of fun out there. Why do we use graphic organizers? We want for things to become, so say a kid is not immediately able to go from words to pictures, we provide these templates. For example, the Venn diagram, whatever is similar comes in the middle. It's a compare and contrast. So whatever is not similar or is different will go in the parts that are not the common overlap area. So there are a bunch of things that you can do with graphic organizers. Pal, you want to talk a little about it as well?
Yeah. So it can be categorized as subjects, or it can be used as a generic template also. So like, for example, if it's a timeline, mostly you will use a timeline to remember history, dates, and events. It can also be used in sciences where you have discoveries and inventions and you want to remember, like, for example, a microscope or evolution or discovery of a cell, which will have different events and different people who would be joining in. Then you have something say for brainstorming, if you're doing a story, then what are my different elements? Something like this, where you are doing, say, one chapter, and then you help children to make questions around it. So these are just WH, which is good for young kids, but with older kids, we can challenge them with a paragraph and ask them to come up with questions. This is an hamburger bun, so it helps children to focus on one paragraph, and so that how my one paragraph will have a main idea, will have details which supports my main idea. So if you look at it overall, when the child writes a story or do any style of writing, will have a meaningful 3 parts. where there will be an introduction, where there will be a body, and there will be a very effective conclusion or a climax. So this will help so what we are doing is we are breaking it down for them. We are slowing it down for them. So sometimes what happens is they would have thought of a story. For first of all, sometimes ideation itself is a difficult task. So once they ideate and come up with ideas, I need to have this character, I'll have this setting. Then you say, okay, fine. Now we know the characters, we know the setting. Now let's build on our story. So these kind of, three, it will take little time, but once you teach them how to, so the flow of ideas, the organization part of it is sorted out. So that's something which they can do in language. This is another example of timelines. So they can do ladder, something which has steps, which shows a chronology. So it could be a timeline, it could be a ladder, it could be block, something which is growing, and something which has a definite end and a start would be very helpful to remember concepts. So, but if you Google, there'll be plenty of templates that will be available. Just see what skill are you using it for. So if it's a cause and effect, there has to be one anchor, and then there has to be many effects. For example, like a tree, which will have a trunk, which is your cause, and then there are different branches which can be used as an effect. So see how you are using it to teach a concept.
The whole point again is to convert it to a visual that is relatable. Because
And break the monotony of what they are doing at school, and giving them some novelty in terms of working with the text.
Then goal setting. Now, guys, a lot of these are skills. For example, study skills, you have to learn it as a skill. Visual notes, there is a little to learn. A lot of the goal setting, children never get to do. And therefore, a lot of it is done by parents. And then we are super frustrated as to why there is no buy-in, because no one has asked the kid. The kid has not committed to this vision that we have in our minds. So one thing we teach children to do in our sessions is to set goals. And when we say set goals, we say, please think of things beyond studies. So they think, so most kids come to we call it study skills because it's easy for parents to understand, or we think, or easy for parents to relate to and come and put their kid in the class. And then what happens is the kid comes very, very reluctantly. The first session, super reluctant. Then they realize this is not a typical class. I can say everything I want. I'm going to get help, and I'm going to do things through activity-based learning. And then we have converted, like, for us, it's a challenge between me and Parul. How soon can we convert a tough kid? And a tough teenager who is being cool and resisting you, converting them is success, as you might know. We all have personalities.
We see those kids starting with their cameras off, and by the end of it, they are the ones who are always unmuting. Can I ask a question? So we see that as a dramatic success for us to start with.
Yeah. So nagging in general, I don't know, how is that working for you, Neha? Because it doesn't work for most people. It just makes everyone frustrated. And then every time my voice comes on, at one point, my kids would just switch off. So nagging doesn't help. So we are going to teach you one thing. This is again a hands-on activity we'd like for you to do, Parul.
So think of, what you see in these three pictures. The first jar has big rocks. The second jar has reasonably smaller rocks like pebbles. And the third one supposedly has a mixed combination of big and small and tiny. So if I have to convert it into what these could be, are our priorities. So when I say what are my rock priorities as a family, now again, it will be highly customized because what works for you might not work for the other family. So what are my absolute priorities is, maybe I want my children to eat nutritious food. They need to sleep 8 hours a day. They need to complete their homework. We need to have a family time. We need to take family vacation. We need to, be with our cousins, whatever. As a family, what would be your rock priorities? Then comes is, what are my pebble priorities? Something that I would want, like my child going to school every day, has a successful year at school. I'm going for my, say, family commitments. We are going to library, taking the child to his interest areas. As a family, what all you do together, as siblings, what they do together, as friends, what they want to plan together. And then comes your sand and water priorities, something which we feel as parents somewhere we take a backseat on, and we don't sometimes model it appropriately. So for example, when I sit with my kid And I'm saying, okay, I'm going to give you a problem. Why don't you work on it? And the child is working and I'm sitting there and answering my WhatsApp chat. I'm Googling, I'm on internet, I'm watching YouTube, I'm watching Netflix. So something that it's good to have, but you can park it. So you need not. That would be your sand and water, which should be something. So your jar should ideally be a combination of your rock and pebble, and these sand and water should just float. So it's good to have, it's aspirational. It happens, very nice. If it doesn't happen, I'm okay with that. Can I take an email later in the day? Can I answer? Can I talk to my friend after like 2 hours? Or during the day, can I go out and finish my chores when my kids are there? Am I available to them? Something like that. So what we would like you to think on is, what are the activities that you do from morning until night, like on day-to-day basis? So if you can just make a mental note, like say you get up in the morning, you pack boxes, then you have your maids coming in. How, like as a couple, like what would you do from morning until say 8 o'clock in the night?
When do you go to work? Guys, we
Yeah.
want you to
When
think
you
about
come
it as
back.
yourselves.
Yeah. So think about how you do, what are your activities for the day on a general, like on an average basis. And then see what are your rock, what are your pebbles, and how much. So it will give you an estimation of, am I concentrating too much on my rock so that I don't have for pebble and water? Or I'm in between sand and rock, so I need to have those pebbles. So something that I wanted to do, but I'm not having time to do. So that's something will help you to build a very, collaborative relationship with your child, right? So because a lot of time, there is a disconnect in parenting. So my father thinks it's okay. My mom thinks it's not so cool. So, and they exactly know which parent to, go for. So if I want to go out and I want to order on Amazon, I want to go to dad. I think I need this and it gets ordered. When you have other things like, planning a play date, or I need to do this, I need to go for stationery shopping. Okay, mom will do my chores. So they have also kind of in their mind done a role division. So this activity is very helpful if you do it together as a family. When you have kid also part of it, then there will be a complete buy-in, and the kid know that both my parents are on the same page.
You know what? It also helps for everyone to see our challenges, to be
Yeah.
vulnerable, to say that, hey, I struggle with this. I'm really
Yeah.
struggling with seeing how to get you to understand that this is important to you.
I'm not able to plan my time properly. I missed out on this week. I missed out on this. I could not take you to this, whatever. So it's okay to say.
I find I don't have time. I want some time off when no one's bothering. I
Yeah.
want to be able to go to my friend's place without getting calls from everyone on what is where. Right? How can we do this? I want to learn something and I want to be able to do that for myself. I'm also struggling, and you'll notice a lot of these strugglings are universal. A lot of these struggles are universal. They are independent of age, gender, or disability difficulty level. These are all very, very common universal things, but we don't look at it in a structured way. So we are suggesting, try the structure. If you're someone that this works for, that's great. We put cookies because I can only have visual cookies in a So I said, let's have chocolate chip cookies in a jar and feel like we are eating all of it. So what are your big cookies? What are your small ones?
And there are choco chips all over.
Yeah. And what are the crumbs that, nice to have, but it's okay to drop.
Yeah.
So take a look at this. And if this is something you want to sit and work on, either as a family or by yourself, I think this would be something of use. All right. So goals. So when we help children set goals, now SMART goals, please look it up. It's specific. And this is like everywhere. It's not something that we've come up with. So SMART goals, very important. What happens is we'll get these motherhood statements. I want to do better at studies. Like, how do you do that? That's like,
I want to get good marks.
Miss World wanting world peace. That's not something anyone will ever disagree with, right? But how am I going to get myself there? So we say which subject, which lesson, how would you measure if you know it or not? Are we talking about test scores? Are we talking about, am I comfortable enough? Am I getting enough information? How would I measure it, and how realistic and timely is it? Because many times we have children coming to us in January, the exam is in March, and we are, supposedly miraculously going to transfer something that parents have not been able to handle for 14 years. We're going to be able to do that in 3 months. So we sometimes have to work with parents first to say, hey, what can we actually realistically in a timely way do it? When you're looking at it, please look at all areas of life. Kids think it's all about studies, and that's what parents are interested in. Unfortunately for our kids, if they're going to goof off at this time, many times they lose out in ways that are disproportionate. That's unfortunately how the systems work. And can we look at it? So if you're going to say plan for the whole year, for that kid, please go back to that brain. That prefrontal cortex is that small. For them, anything beyond 1 month, one term itself is very long. So we want to do short being 1 month. You want to do 2 weeks or a week, that's also fine. Then you will do maybe a week or 2 weeks is your short, and a month or 2 months is your longer time. Based on your child and their needs, we'd like to look at it. This is how we work with kids when we work in.
Yeah. And we would love to have goals as a part of a visual reminder, because any planning that happens in the notebook stays in the notebook. So unless we keep checking and going back to it, it won't work. So any area where they can see it would be helpful.
So we then combine to say, can we do this? So this is the traffic light. It's something that we all know. So what do we have to stop doing? What do we continue doing? And what do we start doing? This is another way of doing it, which is a little, we want to try to make everything less threatening. It's not about saying, oh my God, I'm not doing this. We'll say, okay, I'm doing this well. I will continue doing this. This part is not something I have to worry about. Right? I love my Katha class. I'm doing well enough. I'm practicing just enough. Yeah, it's not great, but that's okay. I continue to do that. But what are a couple of things I absolutely have to start and stop? Believe me, if you're going to get your child to buy into this and at least start, and please don't expect it to be perfect going forward right away. It's all work in progress. The last bit is the organization bit. Again, we teach, this is what we tell children. Do you relate to any of this?
So a lot of children tell us that my mom says organization is my cupboard should be spick and span. My desk should be absolutely clean. So we keep telling them that it's not about the organization part of it. It's about the functional part of it. So I think something, if we can allow that space, as long as that space is functional for them, we should be okay.
This is where modeling also is very important. My son says, you tell me to put your clothes in, but when you look at your room, your clothes are not in. And it's right. It's a struggle for all of us. Right? So we also have to be kind of, little careful in our expectations, what is realistic and what is not. Hold on. So let me.
Most of the time, taking it up on us also frustrate us further, okay, I'll only do it.
So a couple of things that we use with our kids, and this is available for download on our website. If you go all the way down to our website, one is a to-do list, which has for home, academics, food, fitness, sleep, and other activities. Let's please not, sleep is super important. You want children to learn well. They have to get enough sleep. Water, for some people, water is an issue. I know for a lot of girls, especially in India, with the bathrooms being an issue, water, and many of them and many women are cutting down on water. So sometimes, like, I even have a bottle that says, you're doing well. My bottle is talking to me and saying, keep going, refill your bottle, right? All of us need all kinds of support. So whatever it is that you're working on, the whole point is to not make it all about academics alone. Board games, I know it's like very, very old fashioned, but kids love it. And they want more than the board game itself. They want some place where they can control, they're on the same level, they can beat you at Monopoly. You know what I mean? And that talk and the conversations that happen. We used to have this Sunday evening rituals where 1 hour we would all share videos that we've seen through the week that we enjoyed, and everyone got to pick. And my son would pick rap music with foul language, which I wouldn't consider music, and we would all sit and listen and try to find something good in it. So
like how we are learning Korean now.
Yeah. We have children who are teaching us Korean in school, one of the schools we go to.
And there are so many Korean content out there in terms of music and television shows. It's unbelievable.
On Thursday, this one child was trying to teach me vegetables. And I honestly, to date, from the look on his face, I didn't know what he was teaching me. Was it the vegetable or something else? All right, this is another thing we do to help children understand, a weekly planner. This is, we're going to have an Excel, in a little while, we have the Excel file up on our website, but right now it's a PDF format, can be downloaded. This is 1 week at a stretch, and you can, it's, it's kind of something that you can what shall you say, customized
So
for your
yeah, so download the Excel sheet so that you can, based on your requirement, you can make changes and the goals that you want to put in there.
and some things like what are you grateful for? How are you mindful today? Some questions, this gratitude thing is very, very important, especially with children nowadays. I think we have so much and sometimes not quite appreciative of what we have. So little things like that would really
Yeah. So something small organization tips. One, have them stationary organized, have color coded if that works. So if you can color code their recreation books or reading books from their textual books or something for information. So all non-fiction and fiction can be categorized. So see, these labels are very easily available. So if they can categorize it, it will help them organize. So when I open my bookshelf or if I open my library, I know these are the academics and these are the non-academics. So it will help that visual, it will give them that visual clue. And then these portable trays. So if children are using spaces, like they're moving in the house from one space to another, it would be a good idea if they have a set tray. So it can have a notebook, it can have a stationery, it can have a dictionary, and whichever subject. So ideally, it would be a good idea that you have an organization in terms of Monday to Wednesday or Monday to Saturday. What subjects would you like to prioritize if they want to revise, other than their homeworks and all, and then have them organized into these portable trays so they don't have to again and again go grab.
Another thing that we find really works is this binder. So just take
Binders,
a look
yeah.
at this.
So they are very easy available on. So this binder is helpful in a couple of ways. One, there is a binder, there is a clip. So the clip helps you for easy access to remove and to add sheets, which your other spiral binders will not allow you to. Secondly, there was these plastic leaves. There were these folders, so you can categorize subjects. So you can just have to put it inside. Thirdly, there are a lot of loose worksheets that come from school. So it will give that organization. And then there is a pouch in the beginning, so they can have an inbuilt stationery pouch right along with their binder. And if you saw, the first sheet of the binder was the goals, something that they are working on, something they want to work on, and something they'll start. So that's a visual reminder again that am I, working towards my goal. So that binder really helps them to put all things together. So see if you
Put
can help them get
checklists.
those.
You want to
Yeah.
put a checklist. So all of them have those plastic
Yeah.
protectors. So you put the paper inside so it stays kind of
Still.
and that zip is very important because otherwise it can slip out.
Yeah.
So, and it's, it's one of those cool things. This one had Dora, but you can find whatever it is, this is out there enough. Guys, just something about cybersecurity is very, very important nowadays, which is putting it out there. Kids know a lot more than what we think they know. They are doing a lot more. The best kid, the most bookish, following everything kid is doing stuff that we don't know. Part of it is okay. The point is not for us to know everything and be big brother out here. But we should have that responsibility of doing stuff that we know is right. For example, a pin to a phone. I don't know, my credit cards are on Amazon. If it's going to be around children who are acting on impulse, can do things and then get themselves into trouble. So to the level possible, let's please make sure that some basic boundaries are set. Collaborative limits with others, especially with the phone now, it's become a huge area of conflict with many, many parents and kids. It's not something we can do away with, unfortunately. Many times their society is dependent on their being on social media. So you don't want to be that outlier who's completely out there, but definitely some standards. How do you ensure? No, you don't ensure. You can't ensure.
You can only work towards it. Make sure you do a regular check-ins. That's most important.
And that's why the goals have to be collaborative.
Yeah.
If it's going to be monitoring, if it's going to be something that we think we are enforcing, you cannot enforce it. And I would say if you're going to try to enforce with a teenager, you're just setting yourself up for that relationship to go quite a bit. So it could be a discussion. It could be to say, hey, listen, this is what, think about all the things you want to get accomplished and what's happening. Can we track it? Can we have
Yeah,
an
do a regular
data?
check-in is very important.
Yeah.
So
Can we
something
have
to
some
let you
data?
know.
Yeah, I have a phone that says today your screen time was so much. Can we have discussions? I think enforcing, monitoring, going hardcore, punishing has never
Won't work.
worked. It has never worked. We all, I think this is maybe coming back to where we are from to say, I was afraid of my parents, but we also don't want our kids to be afraid of us, right? We want to have discussions and we want to know what it is. So the more you try to enforce and go heavy, this is what we found, is that things go underground. And then suddenly something erupts and we had no idea what there was in the first place. So I would much rather, it's uncomfortable. It is absolutely not something that anyone's going to be 100% okay with.
Yeah,
All.
I would rather know it and able to deal with it rather than not know it and then wait for something big to happen.
So if you're going the enforced path, you're going to have a problem. I can almost guarantee it. So
Yeah.
we'll also have to have our expectations very realistic. Yesterday, I went for a walk with someone who said, I love taking exams. And I looked at her and I'm like, you seriously? And she said, I had to work on my own expectations. I said, love taking exams. I'm sorry, you're the outlier there. So many of us also have this very golden vision of what we were as kids. If you have parents around who are willing to talk to you honestly and tell you what it was, right? Please talk to them and they'll tell you where you actually were. Yes, Menaka, please go ahead.
My mom had certain like whenever me and my girls are around, my girls will keep going back and say, Nani, were you exactly like how Amma is now today? Did you do the same thing what she did? My mom says, no, I did the worst. So they are like, okay, chalo, then we are better off. But they keep going back and checking, how were you as a parent?
Yes, Menaka, you had a question.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an answer for this, but just given how long the school day is now and when kids finally come home, they need time to unwind. And then, you have this gap of so many hours, like 2 hours, 3 hours before, and there's dinner, they want to hang out with friends, all of that. What is a reasonable, I totally agree. I was telling my kids, my son last week, he's just finished his midterms. I was like, I was able to study for 6 hours a day. And hearing you all now, I realized that that's probably an
Oh,
She
yeah.
dropped out. Yeah, we are there.
Yeah, it's just what is a reasonable expectation if he has, he's going to have some tutoring, he has to do some homework, he has to study, he has board exams next year, there are all of these things. I mean, is there something like, this is probably the maximum of what a child can do, right, in a day, which is fair to them and, where they're actually learning. I don't want them just sitting there with a book open and tuned out.
I will ask Sangeeta to add on after I finish. I also have a 9th grader who just finished her final exams. And we just came to know that she'll be having final exams before the Christmas vacation, that winter break they had. Trust me, throughout the winter break and the 10 days of Jan, every time we used to see her in the house, go back and study. Why are you hanging out here? What are you doing here? Continuous nag. And then when she used to come back from school, she's like, Amma, I need 30-40 minutes and then I'll sit to study. Then that 30-40 minutes break would extend into 1.5 hours, depending on whether they are chatting with friends, they're watching a show. And then she said, just 5 minutes, I'll be there. Just 5 minutes, that keep on pushing. So trust me, it's like a cycle. So the only thing that worked was that we did a planner. So I said, how many days your road to exams? There were 21 days. You had 5 subjects. Each subject has 20 chapters. Now, how do you split it up? So by the end of like the day you write your exam, the first exam, you should have done 1 round of revision of all subjects. So visually, when we did that data and breaking up, that was an eye opener. That, oh my God, I just have 20 days and I have so much to do. So more than I worry about like how she will do it, when she saw the data, the whole planning, she's like, I have to start now. So that was the only, like my personal experience. So that was the only buy-in from her, that she realized that she wanted to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to add.
I think these are things that have to be long term.
Yeah.
So what we tell children is, we teach them the skill, then we hold them a little, and then we have that become automatic. And we say every time you come back, see, this daily concept of daily studies is something that many children don't do now,
Yeah,
which is
that's
why this
something
catch up is there. So we tell them, listen, 20 minutes every day when you're working on whatever your teacher has done, a little, study a little, like just see what else is going to come in that subject. So you feel like you are interested, make it active for yourself. Learn this, do the visual notes. At the end of the week, catch up. So on a Saturday, just keep it and say you're going to spend an hour each on every chapter. And based on that, you're going to do something and feel a little in control. And then when you come, you know your test is in place, then you're doing revision. So we kind of show them how this SQ3R kind of goes along with the routine. And that has helped children. But again, I'll tell you what happened. I mean, I'm teaching all of this, right? You would think I'll be able to do it at home. So I have a son who's doing accounting. I'm an accountant with 9 years. I'm just saying this to give you context. 9 years of studying accounting, including a CPA, which is the equivalent of a CA. I can't get him to sit and do accounts. His teacher helped me out a lot. She comes and she says, so he comes home one day and said, I legit, this is teen language. I legit had a panic attack today in class. And I'm thinking, don't tell me I'm dealing with something more on top of what we already have. And he said, my hands were shaking. What happened? My teacher made me write down the number of days I have and what I have to study. We haven't started. We have gone away for 1.5 months for cricket, not gone to school only. Right. So then when he came back, and then the question he asked me is funny for me, because he says, is there a tuition teacher who can help me with this? I'm thinking, dude,
I'm the teacher.
accountant, parent who's going to be most invested in you. You want a tuition teacher? So he said, listen, let's put our money into your cricket coaching, and what we can do, we will do at home. And it worked a lot better. Now he had a pre-board. We got ourselves to a point, the 3 books to do in NIOS accounts. We started from scratch and finished 2 books. And then the 3rd book, we had to wing it. But then, so that means the pre-board is not going to be great, but it's definitely not going to be bad. And then you're going to work with it. So for those of us with challenges, this is always going to be push and pull. But I think for a lot of children, once we get them into that habit and they begin to see that they have more time,
Yeah.
it's working well for them.
Another struggle is, Menika, when we expose children to a lot of these skills, as a workshop mode or as a, say, one-on-one for certain time, they don't see translating those skills into their day-to-day learning. So there's a gap there. So you will think that SQ3R and study skill is a, perfect strategy for my child to learn. But throughout the year, how can I hold it for that kid? How do I encourage, how do I motivate them to use it? Because once they start using it consistently, they will, completely buy in that this works for me. This is like perfect. So I think as a parents, whatever they learn, and as a workshop mode or outside school, with you, without you, how do you integrate into their day-to-day learning systems would be a challenge that you will definitely take it up and work upon.
So we do like these catch up, we do refresher sessions. So they'll come to us in May and then they'll start in June, July, and then we'll do like a catch up session. We do that for teachers also. We will teach them in the beginning, right? We do inclusion and all those things, and it's overwhelming in the beginning. And then we'll catch them up in September or something when they've had sense and they'll say, oh, I can do this, I can do that. Or they'll come back and say, some parts of it I tried. Today I had a kid who said, I needed that template, where was it? Right? Sometimes for them to even understand that it's their need takes some time. So I would say we are playing the long game here. But guys, we got you. This is where we are. We are here, and our whole goal is to work with students and teachers. And as that, supporting parents is very, very much a part of it. So we are here for you. Anything you need, absolutely anything, anytime, please reach out to us. Whether or not your kids come to us for the workshops, which are also options. Yeah, any other questions?
We are 20 minutes on overtime. Anybody who wants to drop out, feel free to. Anybody who wants to ask question can stay back.